Void Mage Gamer is now partnered with Flipside Gaming, so you can use the promo code on their website, all caps, Void Mage, to get 10% off all orders $10 or more. It's a great way that you can support both Flipside Gaming and Void Mage Gamer's channel. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech video this time, and as always, I pulled off a few options for my patrons over on patreon.com. Went for a mono white theme this week for our Commander Deck Tech. We're going to go with Teshar, Ancestor's Apostle. This is probably one of my favorite commanders that came out this entire year from Dominaria. 4 mana, mono white, 2/2 flying bird cleric. Whenever you cast a historic spell, so artifacts, legendaries, and sagas, you return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Also, I'll add this is probably one of the more underrated commander options this year. You have a ton of potential when it comes to combos, more so than any other commander, I think. Even though a lot of those combos tend to be kind of janky, a little bit harder to pull off, they seem just incredibly satisfying for whatever reason. I think it's because you're going to be involving a lot of cards you don't really see anywhere else in Commander. A lot of zero-costed artifacts just for the sake of being cheap and able to trigger Teshar's ability. Mishra's Bauble, Urza's Bauble, you might see these in decks like the Cheerios for Joyra, where that deck's just about trying to storm off. That can be kind of fun, but really, you don't see it around Commander, you don't see it commonly, but really they're only in here as cheap ways to trigger Teshar's ability so that you can get a creature card converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, I've already done this deck tech video a while ago, back when Dominaria came out. This is one of the commander decks I made. So there's been a few new additions to the deck. We'll quickly go over those. Bounty Agent, Sky Scanner, and Trusty Pack Beast. These are 3 pretty new cards, but this kind of gives you the idea of what we want to do here. All of these are going to be able to be brought back from the graveyard with Teshar's ability, but they're also able to synergize and even potentially combo, especially with the Trusty Pack Beast being able to bring an artifact card from our graveyard to our hand, something like a Mishra's Bauble, so that we can use it, sacrifice it all over again. We're going to want sack outlets in here as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. And you have the benefit with Sky Scanner being able to trigger Teshar's ability, seeing as it's also an artifact. Just very good value creatures here. And Bounty Agent, very underrated removal in white. But the deck has a lot of combo capabilities here with things like Blasting Station, Altar of Dementia, and of course Aetherflux Reservoir. You can easily beat your opponents. And this is quite the underrated deck. You can take them by surprise. And if you have something like an Ashnod's Altar out there, I wouldn't be surprised to see you kill everyone with a Walking Ballista. Really, the only problem I see with this deck is being able to get Teshar out there and keeping her out there, because she really is the entire deck. If you don't have Teshar, you're pretty much not going to be doing much because most of your creatures are kind of cheap, and they're really only in here to have some sort of synergy or potentially combo, or help us get to our combos. We're going to need some speed, so we have things like Ranger of Eos to get us our combo pieces, or get us some really cheap creatures that we're capable of starting a combo with. Recruiter of the Guard also works out pretty well. But yeah, this is a really weird deck because we're going to be playing things like Mem Knight, Ornithopter. These are just cheap creatures that are also going to trigger Teshar because they're artifacts, and we can also bring them back with her ability the same way. We also have some pretty cheesy things in here. Hope of Girapur and Kami of False Hope. These are some pretty irritating cards that you can constantly bring back, and in certain situations against certain opponents, you can lock them out of the game with these. We have a commander that's capable of bringing them back constantly. So there's just a lot of potential to have fun in addition to being able to combo. But if you are going to focus on the combo, there are some pretty important cards that you're going to want to consider. And these are usually going to be the artifact retriever cards like Mirror Retriever, Junk Diver, and Scrap Trawler. These are all 3 very important because their triggers are going to allow you to replenish your hand with more artifacts. And especially when you get into the whole Bauble territory, or you have zero-costed artifacts that are going to be sacrificing themselves. If you have any other sack outlets like Ashnod's Altar, you can easily just combo, get yourself infinite cast triggers, and then easily win with something like an Aetherflux Reservoir, pretty deadly. And you do have a lot of random creatures that are just in here, kind of like Trusty Pack Beast, where we're just going to be bringing artifacts from our graveyard to our hand, with things like Salvage Scout, Leonin Squire, as well as cards that are just going to bounce that you probably aren't going to see in too many other decks. Aviary Mechanic, you also have Core Sky Fisher. These are probably going to help us with our zero-costed artifacts that we're not going to be able to sacrifice. Something like a Mox Amber that's going to stay out there. We can easily just bounce it back to our hand, replay it, get more Teshar triggers. Really cool card. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for the deck. I still love it all the same. It's one of my go-to decks whenever I just want to have some fun, while also giving myself the potential to really dominate in a game. Very easily overlooked as far as commanders go, but I think that goes for a lot of monocolored options. People tend to go for 3-color, 4-color decks just because you tend to have a lot of flexibility, what you can do. But Teshar is really out there, again, involving a lot of cards you're probably not going to see in too many other decks. Focusing on more of a recursion-based strategy within mono white isn't something you typically see, but really cool nevertheless. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.